time to bring you in the loop on this, the Arc Studio from IK Multimedia and its accompanying Arc 4 software. IK Multimedia say that this little box will make any speakers sound better. So if you are a DJ producer, you've got a home studio, or you are someone who likes to produce in different places, this could be something that you want to look at. We've looked at things like this before. In fact, IK Multimedia has got speakers that have got this kind of technology built in. I'm going to talk to you about how it works in a minute. And other companies offer solutions for this as well. For instance, we've reviewed Adam Audio's speakers, A-series speakers, which can connect to similar software to the software I'm about to talk to you about, the Arc 4 software from IK Multimedia, and download or upload to those speakers something that does what I'm about to talk to you about now. So there's other solutions, and there's other solutions from the same manufacturer, but the big difference here is that this little box here can take any speakers, for instance, the really humble little KRKs I've got here that you might have similar in your home studio or your DJ practice area. It'll take any speakers and make them sound audibly better. So how does it do it? Well, it does it by listening to the room and then using a digital signal processor to do some clever changes to what the speakers play to you. So how does it listen to the room? It uses a little microphone. They provide this measurement microphone in the box. They don't provide the XLR cable. They also provide a microphone stand clip, but they don't actually provide the microphone stand because you'll need to set this up quite carefully to take measurements around your room. And the idea is that you set up this microphone, you plug it into any audio interface that you have. So this box here is not an audio interface. You need to plug the microphone into any audio interface you have. Now, if you have a Pro mixer that's got a built-in audio interface and an XLR microphone input, you can use that, or you might have a Focusrite Novation Scarlett knocking around. That's the one that we use, the little Scarlett interface there. But whatever you've got, you're going to need an audio interface. And then the idea is that you plug your microphone into the audio interface that goes into the software on your computer, and it listens in between 7 and 21 different areas in the room, depending on how granular you want to get. And the idea is then that the computer software does some pretty clever crunching of all the numbers, and then you download or upload, I don't know the right term for doing this, but anyway, you take it from the software on the laptop and you put it back into this box. So at that point, you do something quite clever, which is demonstrated on this little card that comes in the box. So we've already done this bit. We've installed the software. We've used the microphone to get the analysis into the software. Now we've put the file onto the box itself, and then we plug this little box between the output from our mixer or our audio source and our speakers. So the idea is that instead of plugging from the back of our DJ gear directly into our speakers, this little box sits in between. And this box takes, in ultra low latency and all that good stuff, it takes what's coming out of the DJ gear, it corrects the audio based upon what it knows about the room that you're listening to it's in and where you stand when you're DJing, or where you sit where you're producing, and it changes the audio in lots of subtle ways, which will change the bass response, the stereo imagery, the transients, which is kind of like it's to do with the way sounds die away in the room. All of those things are affected by the room acoustics, and it attempts to correct those things. And then the speakers will play an improved version of the audio. Any old speakers, that's the cool bit. So it already knows what your speakers sound like because you played music through them holding this microphone up earlier. So it's a really clever way of putting technology to use that you can't get with speakers that until this point haven't had it built in. And so hi-fi buffs will tell you there's no point spending huge amounts of money on really expensive hi-fi equipment if your room is not properly acoustically treated, because you're not getting the benefits of the very subtle improvements in circuitry and in components and so on that are used in the very best audio equipment and speakers and so on. You're not getting the benefits of that if your room is letting you down. And so while it would be lovely for all of us to live in amazing, properly customized homes with studios that we can do all that in, it's not always the way, especially for DJ producers who do this as a hobby, which is us lot, right? So this is a way of kind of clawing a bit of that back and getting some of that goodness that you get from professionally treated rooms and professionally placed speakers from whatever it is that you happen to own. Right, all sounds good. Do you need it? So I've got 5 big reasons why investing in something like this. It's 299 euros, I think. It's something like that. So yeah, it's a reasonable expense, but it's not totally out of the realms. Is it worth spending that money on something like this? Well, here's a few ideas. If you've already got good speakers and you've maybe spent a lot of money on them, and you've got them positioned properly, so the tweeters are pointing at your ears and they're equidistant in a triangle from where you DJ or produce. You've done all that stuff and you've tried to get your room right. You've tried to put soft furnishing in the corners and make the hard walls broken up. Maybe you've used special tiles and stuff. You know, you've done all that stuff and you're still not happy with how the audio sounds in your room. This is definitely something to look at, because it could just be the final thing that's missing to help you get that sound how you want it. And you don't have to then go and invest in loads of more equipment and so on, or other things. It could just be a relatively cheap little box can get that right for you. So the second way that you could probably justify this expense for your studio is if you're a DJ producer, so you're starting to dabble in making music as well as DJing, then it suddenly becomes more important to have really accurate sound, because without really accurate sound, you don't know what people listening to your productions are going to hear. You've got an absolute carte blanche on the audio when you open a blank Ableton project. You could put anything in that project, right? You really have to know what it genuinely sounds like, not what poorly set up speakers in a poorly set up room tell you it sounds like. So if you want to trust your speakers, something like this is a really good idea, because it can take the guesswork out of getting that mix sounding right. So related to that, you can do something pretty clever with the software that comes with this. You can send to the box emulations. So you can say, you know, I want to know what Abbey Road sounds like, or that kind of thing, which is pretty cool. But the most cool part of that is you can tell your speakers to sound like your mobile phone or your car or your TV speakers. So you can listen to your productions and your music and your DJ mixes the way that someone listening to them on any of those low quality audio setups or very different audio setups would hear them, without having to literally go to your car and listen to it on your car stereo and come back again. Or you sometimes see studios with more than one set of speakers set up, you know, small, medium and large speakers set up so they can switch between them. Well, this can do that for you. So it's quite a cool way of emulating different places where people might listen to your music or to your DJ mixes. Now, you might have seen similar plugins for Ableton, FL Studio and so on, because you can plug in this kind of software on the master output of production software, right? So the idea then is that you don't need the hardware or anything. It will do it all inside your computer, and then it will emulate what you want, right? And you might have seen that. You might be a DJ and all you've got is, you know, a traditional DJ mixer. Well, you can't plug a software DSP in the output of a mixer. Well, you can on some, but not easily. This little box will let you do that. So if you're a DJ and you think you're missing out on all the fun, well, this is a way of kind of getting it back again. And so the final reason why you might be justified in spending money on something like this is if you are often producing on the move. So let's say that you're lucky enough to work with a producer or two and you go around to their place to produce, they come to yours, or you've got a studio in one home and you've got a second home, you've got another studio in, or 2 studios in your own home. When we made our course with Jazzy Jeff, he's got his main studio, he's also got one in his basement, so he doesn't have to walk across his drive when it's winter weather. Hey, how the mighty live, right? Look, if you've got more than one studio, this little box can go with you, and you can set it up to be treating the sound for that particular studio, and it's easy to switch on the box between the different emulations. So wherever you go, or maybe you produce on the move, right? In that case, again, it can do that for you. It can correct the sound wherever it is you like to produce. So look, good speakers, not happy with them. DJ producer, somebody who wants to emulate the different audio you hear in different places so that you can listen to what your sound would be like on those kind of speakers. Someone who's seen this in production software and wanting it for your DJing, or if you do all this stuff on the move and you want to make sure wherever you DJ or wherever you produce, it sounds good. And actually that just made me think of one more reason. We've been talking to a lot of people recently who are having listening parties. So this is where you will hire a cafe or a venue and you'll set up the very best sound you can get and you just listen. You listen to music, you invite a few people. I think this would be really good for getting the sound right in that kind of venue as well, which often is not going to be in any way ideal acoustically. There's just another idea there. Is it worth the $299 or euros, something like that? We'll link underneath to the actual prices. You need to have a XLR cable, you need to have a microphone stand, and you need to have an audio interface just to use it properly, right? So you need to factor that in as well. But if you have got those things, the specifications of this are great. I mean, I'm not gone into them here because it's only a first in the loop video, but you know, the specs are great. It's all balanced. It's got very low jitter, very low latency, and all that stuff. So the specs are good. So in that respect, it's worth it. Look, get your speaker placement right first. Once you've got your speaker placement right, get your room sounding as good as you possibly can. There's a lot you can do in any room to make it sound better. And if at that point you're not happy, that's the main circumstance when I'd say it's definitely worth looking into this kind of thing. To make any speakers that you happen to own now sound definitely better in any situation. So now you're in the loop with the new IK Multimedia Arc Studio and the Arc 4 software. We hope to carry a full review of this very soon. But for now, I hope you've enjoyed this. Get good, get out there, make the moments, and I'll see you in another video very soon.